Let's get to what you can go on the record for. With all these names of companies and individuals and aircraft assets, all these names, now 1,100 pages. Trump's serious about going after these people, not just foreigners, that's the Foreign Office, but inside of America. There are going to be people that are going to get taken down, correct?
Yeah, yes, I think he is serious. I think you're right. And as I mentioned before, a lot of this is connected into international and national human trafficking, which brings in more revenue than the drug trade. And I think I'm convinced, absolutely, that's part of Trump's impetus here, is he is fully intending, and Sessions, to bring down the international human trafficking trade inside the United States and internationally. And I am absolutely convinced that's a big part of this.
You think that they are? This isn't some far away never land sometime in the next 10 years. You think that that action is going to be taken sooner than later? Can you give us a time frame on that?
I'd say sooner than later, understanding that these are complex international investigations that have to build evidence that's prosecutable in court and can result in arrests. That's very complex. I used to work cases like this. It takes a lot of time to get this stuff right. I think they're working on it. It takes time. I would say, just based on investigations I've done, especially with the FBI, the good FBI and the lower ranks, I would say probably 2 years.
Do you think that the FBI, the people you named, are all in trouble in terms of charges? The CIA people, the Comeys, the Strocks, the Rosensteins, the Page, all these different people, Loretta Lynch, Brennan. Do you think all these people are going to have charges against them? Are they worried?
Under the Trump administration, yes. They weren't worried at all before, but yes, they're worried now. John Brennan hacked into Senate Select Committee intelligence computers on Capitol Hill. The CIA did. That's a felony. James Comey leaked information to start the special prosecutor, leaked memos, his meetings of Trump. He lied about not meeting with Obama. Comey is indictable. Robert Mueller was president and approved the Uranium One deal. We know where that's going, so he may be held accountable for that. Lynch knew about Clinton's server. Loretta Lynch knew about the Clinton Foundation. Weissman knew about the Clinton Foundation. Rosenstein knew about the Clinton Foundation. They knew about the dossier and the fact that the dossier came from, of all things, paid Russian intelligence officers, our #2 espionage enemy, that all of it was fake. They knew all of that. They lied in affidavits to a federal FISA judge, and you don't lie to a judge. This is chargeable, indictable felonies. Before they got away with it under the connections to the Clinton Foundation, the Cabal, Obama, and the rest of what I call the subversion of America. But now Trump is in office, and whatever people think about Donald Trump, as I say often, is irrelevant. The fact is they know he'll do it. And the fact is they know he'll investigate these things. So now these people, the ones that I just named, have committed felonies, and they could be prosecuted for those.
Do you think this could take down? I have Mark Taylor on, who did the book, The Trump Prophecies, and he said, and he predicted that there would be military tribunals. And then there's a new information out about military tribunals, new guidelines for military tribunals when it has to do with the public. And that you have to be, he said this, just you have to be careful that he doesn't take down whole parts of government. Is that a possibility? Is that the constitutional crisis you're talking about? That there's so many people involved in this, so many people being paid off, that parts of government could shut down? I mean, you could have parts of the DOJ just shut down.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with military tribunals just because the constitutional aspect of that with elected government. That's just my opinion. But I do think there could be a constitutional crisis in that we could see congressmen, senators, former managing directors of the FBI and the CIA perp walked after they received charges. Now, could you imagine if senior DOJ officials were arrested, some congressmen and senators were arrested, and other government officials were arrested and on charges and walked out of office? That's the constitutional crisis I'm talking about. Those kind of high-level arrests would shake up this nation, and those positions would have to be filled. It would be huge, and I think personally That's why it's taking so long and being so methodical in doing this. That would cause a constitutional crisis when you start arresting based on probable cause members of ruling members and elected members and officials, appointed officials of our government start getting arrested. Yeah, you got a real crisis on your hands.
Could this go all the way up to the money people, to the George Soroses of the world, to the Rockefellers, to the the Rothschilds, to any of these people in the Council on Foreign Relations that are, Hillary Clinton sat in front of the Council on Foreign Relations, said, "I'm so glad you're so close to me. That way I can come down and get your guidance."
Yeah.
I mean, is that what you're talking about? Could this go all the way to the very top, to the trillionaires that are trying to, have their new world order and take down America?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And you remember that statement speech Hillary gave before the CFR, saying basically, you tell us what to do and we follow it. And you got to remember that Hillary is directly connected, as was Barack Obama, to George Soros, who has publicly stated he wants to destroy the sovereignty of the United States. We know what was hidden by the press, the fact that Hillary Clinton and especially Barack Obama were connected to Saul Alinsky, Frank Marshall Davis, and other Marxists because they have a Marxist philosophy. We also know that George Soros is intentionally flooding nations, especially trying the U.S., with Muslim immigrants because he wants to destroy the U.S. sovereignty, as does Hillary Clinton, as does Barack Obama, because they're globalists. And as we know now, one of Hillary's closest friends is Lynn Rothschild. She wrote an email apology to her because she missed a meeting and asked Lynn how she could get penance to restore herself. She's good friends with her. And ironically, Lynn Rothschild put out a tweet excoriating John Podesta for ruining their chances, maybe because of his leaked emails or something. Hillary Clinton is connected all the way to the top of the financial elite. And I have to tell you, Greg, when you research this stuff back, the global economic order, the new world order, the new international world order, as Obama called it, this is involving people worth multi-billions of dollars, many of them going all the way back to the original concept of the New World Order. They're involved in the occult. They're involved in various types of alternate sexual activities. Many of them are dark, practicing occultists, and their view of ruling the world comes from that perspective. Hillary Clinton, as we know, channeled Eleanor Roosevelt. She's tied into all these elitists, and these people that they despise traditional America because it's against who they are, and their biggest target is Christianity because it's the only thing that kind of stands up against that kind of dark mindset. So they despise U.S. sovereignty. They despise our traditional culture here, stemming from the Constitution. They want the Constitution to become a living document so it can be changed. Greg, we are talking a dark, diabolical, twisted, almost perverted international global elite network that I am convinced is also tapped into because of the financial connections, the human trafficking network. And I think Donald Trump knows it. That's how dark this thing is.
Your chances on them being successful, evidently the tide has turned. Has the tide turned? Let's give some people some hope. It sounds like the tide has turned, that they are on the run, they're on their heels.
Well, the fact that they're coming out and attacking Donald Trump so heavily and attacking his supporters so heavily, so blatantly, and so much out in the public means they're running scared. Because Donald Trump is so independent, he's got such a maverick-like personality, he's using Twitter. They cannot control him, and they are terrified of him because we have not seen this clash between a president, specifically the CIA, the FBI, and some of the global elite since John F. Kennedy. It has not been this in your face. It has not been this drastic since John F. Kennedy crossed the CIA and the Federal Reserve and other elite bankers. It has not been that bad since then. We're looking at something similar to that now. They know that Donald Trump will do this, and there are some people not happy with his connections to Wall Street and on and on and on. You have to understand, he's in a complex web there. But the fact of the matter is, yes, they're running scared. For the first time in their dark, multi-decade existence, they're being challenged. They're being brought out on shows like yours and others in full public view, and they're fighting for their survival. And frankly, we can expect them to get really nasty.
And I was going to get to that. Do you think that they could, take down the financial system. That's one of the things that Donald Trump's worried about in his executive order on December 21st. That he's worried about them taking down the financial system. Could that be one of the things they do? They would be big losers if they take down the financial system. Their bonds would be worthless, and they could go from trillionaires to millionaires. But could they take down the financial system? Is that a threat? Is that a real threat?
Well, they have the power. And remember that the Rothschilds and I believe it was the Morgans took down the financial system in the Great Depression. They made millions while everybody else starved. Yeah, they can take the financial system down. The Federal Reserve, it's not a reserve at all, and it's also not a federal system. It's composed of foreign bankers, a board of secret foreign bankers who conduct secret operations, who have a secret budget, but they're not American bankers. It's not a Federal Reserve. It's a collection of foreign bankers. These foreign bankers are tied into the global international elite, and all the Federal Reserve has to do is deny loans to any corporation it wants, destroy that corporation, raise interest rates just 2% to ruin our economy, affect every American's car loan, student loan, credit card loans. They could bring this economy down in a heartbeat, and they know how to do it in such a way because they control the banks that they could, just as they did in the Depression, enrich themselves in the process.
Kevin Shipp, with that, what do you think the big headline is going to be? The big headline is, we'll circle back to it, and you've been, I know, working on it with your website for theloveoffreedom.net, is the Clinton Foundation.
Yes.
That's the big one. That's what you should be watching out for. Tell us about that in summary.
Yeah, the Clinton Foundation is a global crime syndicate. It is tied into Soros, much of the global elite bankers. It is also tied into some congressmen and senators in the United States. It has connections into the deep state shadow government, whatever you want to call it. We can see that it's got its tentacles into the highest levels of the FBI, FBI directors, FBI lawyers, and others. This is the biggest, darkest global criminal crime syndicate probably in U.S. history. And when that thing comes out, if they do it right and they do it carefully, when that thing comes out, it's probably going to be the biggest global scandal in history. They just have to be very careful because these people are deadly, dark, and they have billions of dollars at their disposal. But yes, I think this is going to be the biggest anvil mountain to drop probably in history.
Kevin Shipp, thank you. You're a patriot. Thank you. Thank you.
Greg.
I always say you know the truth when you hear it. And I think that everybody sat and listened to you for the last almost 30 minutes and said, wow, the truth. And Kevin Shipp, thank you for coming on and updating us about what's going on and what the real issue is. And you guys, I know you guys are doing a lot of work on the Clinton Foundation. So this isn't just something you're just spouting off. You're actually doing research and work and investigations on the Clinton Foundation. Your website is fortheloveoffreedom.net. Kevin Shipp, former CIA officer and whistleblower. Thank you, sir, for being a great patriot and a great American.
Thank you, Greg. Always a pleasure.